All right, everybody. Hey, guess what? It is April 14th. It is a Sunday, and it is 2019. Today we are listening to Ed, who's going to educate us, which that is why it's Education with Ed. And sorry about the background noise. I got kids. There's nothing I can do about it. Except, well, actually, there's nothing I can do about it. If you want to raise a good child, if you want to raise a good child and raise them properly, you let them have their voice, but you also put
you gotta put your foot down.
Put your foot down when you need to. Other than that, let them have fun. All right, Ed. Okay, well, in that case, let Ed have some fun too. Go ahead, kid.
Okay. Let me know when we're going to start.
That was it. Go ahead, kid. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is Ed. I'd like to thank you guys for joining us again this evening. We are still out getting proper education out compared to what some of the other people are doing. And you got to pay attention to the people out there of who's giving you real education and who's not. It is one of those things that when you look at this, the structure is, and like I've been explaining to people, you have to file your rights to have rights. And it's working. And it's not only been working for me, it's working for other men and women too that are doing it. And see, that's the one thing. Oh, yeah, I got a inhaler here. That's the one thing that people got to realize, that learning what the court systems did on the 14th Amendment and what we've gone through the circle around what they're calling a democracy. And we know our government's a republic. We the people are the republic. Democracy is foreign agents under the 1938 Foreign Administration Registration Act. And you can look that up yourself, and you'll see what it says in that. So, and the word democracy is in there. So when we're going through these things of educating ourselves through the process here, so that way we have our rights intact, we know what our children are. You have to file to own your child because it's the same thing as building a brand new motorcycle, boat, or anything like that. When you put a manufacturer state of origin sticker on it and you register it with the state controls it because you get permission. And that's exactly what people do with their child. They do it with their car, their boat. And so this week, I'm pushing heavy with the newspapers because I'm trying to get this thing put out, dealing with the rights, because I'm told if I travel, I'll be shot on sight. Most of us have been told that. Most of us have been pulled out. We watch the videos of us getting assaulted for filing our rights. And the thing is that we got some public servants that are honoring it and standing up and being honorable. And we have some that are still not being honorable. And you have to realize, and I was talking to a gentleman earlier, and I don't know if he's going to join us tonight in the call, because we've been going back and forth over the Federalist Papers and civil rights and all this stuff, and people got to realize when it says civil rights came from the war of the British government again. And that's the one thing that we got to realize. And we fought the South. We fought the British government again. And that's what I was hashing with this gentleman and several gentlemen over from back east, going through, their paperwork, their education, their knowledge. And it's like, you guys got to realize, and that's what they started looking at, because when the South walked out back in 1861, and before the Civil War started in 1863, it's realizing what, why, and how things happened. And that is the one thing that is going back, and that's what I was talking to the one gentleman about, dealing with going, all right, when the South walked out, all right, it was religious control. It was, standing on these type of beliefs instead of what freedom is. And yes, we do know that they did change a few things to the original Constitution, but they were including religion in control of that, too. That was the other point that people don't want. You have the constitutional right of your freedom of religion and your beliefs, but you don't have a constitutional right to tell me about your belief. And that's what a lot of people say, I have my rights. And it's like, okay, you have your rights, but most of us don't want to hear, you yelling on the street corner for nothing. It's sort of like what I do right now. Is I'm yelling on the street corner doing the same thing, and sometimes I think it's for nothing, and most of the times I don't believe it's for nothing. But you have to look at what it is. You have to pay attention to what's going on in the media and structure, and you can start watching the changes, and you start seeing people are getting it. So we do have a future that once we start getting it and protecting it, and this is the one thing that we're going to be having T-shirts stood up, and that's what I'm saying. It comes down to the 48 states united. And going back to the original structure of what the 48 states united meant after the Civil War. And looking at the foundation of the thinking back then. And you have to realize that the way people thought back then compared to the way people think today. Now, most people today are not free thinkers. They're so programmed thinkers, and they can't think outside the box. And most people are got to act like attorneys, and they got to always question everything. Even when it says, like the Second Amendment says, thou shalt not be infringed. And people go, well, infringed means that's an opening. No, infringed means you can't do it. And that's the one thing that we've got to start with. That's what we're doing right now, is we're letting these people know they can't do it. Now, I'll have my other filings done with the city of Toledo here in the next couple of days. We'll have them up on the website. I'm going to send them out to the local media. These guys are they got to show the contract. And this is what you need to do with your city employees, your mayor, your city council. You file your rights. Then you go after them to prove their contract. And that's what I'm doing. I'll have this one letter I'm putting together. We'll have a template up that on the website by probably the end of the week or something like that. And you guys, you can file this. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, the thou shall not be infringed thing.
Yeah.
The definition of infringe by Merriam-Webster is to encroach upon in a way that violates law or the rights of another. So shall not be infringed, that means it cannot be altered in any way.
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point. And when people sit there and go, oh, the Constitution should be altered and we need to change it, it's like, you people don't get it. The minute that's altered, the whole document falls apart. That's as simple as that. You don't want to change it. Like I was talking to a guy today and the last couple of weeks dealing with the 17th Amendment on the right to vote. And, oh, we gave the women rights to vote. And it's like, God, did anybody read real history? When it came to the regions, when they started the regionals, excuse me, did anybody read? The only ones that can vote is landowners. That's it. Landowners were the only ones that were allowed to vote when voting first started, when they did the 17th Amendment. And then they say, oh, women didn't have the right to vote. That's a crock of bullshit. Doesn't anybody read? Isn't anybody intelligent enough to watch? And actually, movies actually do put this in Western movies, too. You know, when the woman owned the land, when the man died and the woman owned the land, or the land was passed down by her family to her and she was the landowner, she had a vote. See, it says landowner. It does not say man or woman or child. It says landowner. So these are the things when you read these instruments and you start comprehending what it means compared to when somebody wants to interpret it or whatever somebody's saying to you and they're trying to change your mind, take the words for what it says. Because the United States, the Constitution was supposed to be for the United States, for America, not of America. And that was changed in 1787. And that's the one thing that you got to look at when these Democrats change these things, and all these people are from foreign countries, they're not Americans. When an American calls himself American, he wants to go hunting and fishing and has to have a life. You know, he doesn't go sit there and tell his neighbor that if you don't pay me and hold you for extortion like Republican police do today, it's no different than the mafia. And then it depends on, I think, everybody says, the mafia is bad. At least the mafia had respect and knew their territory. These public employees today, they're getting totally out of whack. I mean, I can't believe that, especially with this, the craziness with the transgenders and all this stuff coming to light the way it's coming out, and people are wondering what's going on. and these children are being assaulted in bathrooms and stuff like this, and they're saying it's okay because it's transgender, and it's like, have we lost the minds of people? You know, what happened to respect and dignity? You know, if you wanted that type of lifestyle, keep it in the closet. Keep it behind closed doors. Because everybody else pretty much keeps their business behind closed doors, and that's what we all should be doing. I mean, when we got kids out there that are running around at 8, 9, 10 years old that are flaunting around and acting a different gender than they were born, not hatched to birth, you know. Of course, sometimes you wonder. But if we don't start standing up to this stuff, more and more is changing. These guys are freaking out because more and more people are standing up. More and more people are fighting their rights. When you start seeing your public employees going to work in costumes and, you know, and not acting under the appropriate code of law, and if you don't know what code of law is, you know, we have it up on the website, and please research it too. Code of law is saying that the government controls you. That's called the corporation called elected and public employees. We, the people, are the employers. We have servants. We have employees that are servants and servants that are employees. But we have servants, and that's the one thing that the children need to be taught this in school today. We have servants, and we talk to them as servants, not as gods that they're being taught today, that these people are living in such fairyland issues that we got to get back to brass tacks. We really got to get back to brass tacks. It's really hardening when you see this stuff going on, the internet, TV, major news, and with all the craziness that's coming out, and people are panicking because the Republic is starting to stand up. Yes, and then everybody keeps going after Trump, you know, dealing with some of his oil and gas deals. Well, yes, okay, folks. Like I told the Indian nations, file your damn problems. File on the owners. He can't do it. Trump can't sit there and go, oh, I'm going to legalize the one and it's going to stop. If he does that, production, everything stops. You don't have gas, you can't go to the store. You have no natural gas, you don't have propane. So, I mean, we gotta start analyzing and looking and stepping back and start going, well, what are the major issues that we have to deal with? And we know that we got a lot of people out there going on extremes, but, you know, we start getting it down with common sense, common intelligence. Oh, and then we have to include common science. So, you know, that means that we have to be realistic and see what it is, you know? I mean, we've had a lot of people that have developed and done a lot of things that, you know, in early stages of machineries and stuff, that if they didn't have an open mind to think, to do things, to allow that to happen, we wouldn't have engines and cars and stuff today. The kids today, they're not taught to think. They're taught to be a program chip. Oh, yeah, I can program this and program that, but they don't get taught to physically design and build things anymore. You know, they're not physical in their projects today. You know, oh, because you're on a keyboard, that's physical, moving your fingers. It's like, no, you know, you're not involved in the process of what's going on. And so we've seen a lot of that change and a lot of that lost. I mean, I still went through a maze of wall here recently when I went on to Lincoln County Commissioner, well, you got to go to Lincoln County. You can just type in Lincoln County and look at the commissioners. I mean, and also, too, the one commissioner that has been involved trying to murder me, the banker who runs the banks for the county. Oh, yeah, I recalled that guy at the school board recall. I recalled him. He was 63% recalled. And after I recalled him, the Democratic Party kept on putting him in, and they put him in as county commissioner when Don Lindley left, so they appointed him as now county commissioner. So you got to remember, this is corporation people, all right? And people think that these people are there to protect you. Well, they are on one case, only if you follow your rights. And people go, well, that doesn't matter. Well, actually, I got to say, it has been changing. It has mattered. And I physically have lived it. I'm physically living it, witnessing, and seeing it. You know, I mean, right now I'm working with some ideas with one of the hospitals on an idea dealing with birthing, and another structure dealing with people with Mike type of condition, lung and heart conditions. So it's like coming up with some of these things, but see, I'm not going after and going, oh, well, you have to pay me for all this. No, I'm doing this because, if the ideas that I have come out and they are successful, then the whole point is if it works for somebody else and it keeps them going a little longer, that's what matters. As long as we're alive, that's what matters. But when it comes down to this craziness of all the stuff that we got, like with the city, because it's like even with my city, I've sent them letters, I'm not getting response. I've got some certified mails. They want me to go get some certified mails, and I'm not signing and agreeing to a contract. I'm not going to go play the goddamn game of, I got 72 hours to go after this contract. I'm not going to play the game. I've got the receipts that they've sent. It goes into a file, and that's called racketeering or fraud, and that's mail theft. It's trying to connive financial funding out of me, trying to put me into an organization that I don't want to be part of. Legally, I don't have to. Even commercially, I don't have to. And they know it. But this is how they come after you, is get your certified mail and do all this stuff. And they go, well, we sent it to you. Well, and that's where I send them back to the email. All right, you got my email, so what is the point? I have not received, this information. And when I get the other one written here in the next 48 hours, we'll have it up when we get it up there. But it's like looking at this, because I'm setting up some templates. And like I said, we're going to do some T-shirts. I've got some things that we're going to start maneuvering this stuff and start getting it out, because I figured that the only way to get it out there is put it on people's face. I've been sitting in the back too long, and I get, it's time to move forward and step on the paper, so I'm going to do that. But the one thing, too, like when we're going to do these T-shirts and stuff, hey, we already got it filed. I'll have the letter set up and certified through the IRS, because I have the other paperwork, too, that, natives and anybody who's native from 1863, actually 1867, does not pay taxes. The law is there. See, this is the one thing that, the thing is that people don't realize these laws because they don't research them. And then the other point is that you'll notice in the last several decades, the last maybe 4 decades, but really in the last 2 decades, been heavy, that history has been altered and changed, and a lot of stuff being deleted. And you go on and you look at the history stuff, and you see part of it like the Oregon State Constitution and the treaty dealing with the Treaty of 1846. It's supposed to be on the Oregon State website, has been altered, because the original treaty says the 49th parallel, and that we, the people of the Western Oregon, should not pay any taxes at all, income, federal, or exercise taxes, is in the damn treaty, 1946. Or 1846, I mean. 1846. But they altered the treaty in 1959. And I got people that I go with back and forth on different channels, and everybody keeps going the 1859 treaty, or the 1859 state corporation seal. And everybody wants to go, the state was formed in 1859. The state was not formed in 1859. The state was formed of the Union in 1846, of we the people of the Union of the 48 states. 1859 is when the corporation to do internet finances and trading. The original treaty that we have with the British government is the law of the land with the treaties with the natives that they have with the British government. That is the law of this land. We have no other treaties. I know people that say, well, my family has a treaty going back to, 1740. And I'm like, with who? What country? Just because you guys came on this country's soil and you guys made a treaty on this soil, you didn't have a treaty with the original people that you came in their house. So that's the one thing. And the Supreme Court has come out and started saying that they don't have rights. And it cannot be in the country. And so things are changing. The Supreme Court has come out with a few interesting decisions. I am very glad to see the Navajo Nation finally doing their stuff on the hemp deal. Because hemp has always been lawful. I've been arguing that, and then the case I did in New Mexico, when the New Mexico case came out and hit the Supreme Court case, and that I was shocked when I saw that one, because they said that marijuana can't be taxed or anything, and that was from the New Mexico case. And that was from a case I was involved in. And I was shocked when that one came out the way it came out last year. But the Supreme Court is paying attention. We have rights, but it's called responsibility first, folks. So it's your responsibility to teach your kids responsibility, not to go play dollhouse in public buildings. You know, I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine on your time, but on company time, we're not paying you to do that. You know, that is something that is your decision. That is personal for you. So we're not liable to pay your structure on this out of income taxes, property taxes, or even off the straw man base account. Of course, that's what they run off the jails. Remember, your jails are completely run by your birth certificate funding. How do you think they put the money in there? Because everybody's got a birth certificate bond, Executive Order 2040, at $630,000 for each one. That was valued at 1933, March 9th, 1933. So you figure inflation for that today, that's pretty interesting with interest and everything. So you think about that. So we have the paper structure. We know our forefathers put in paper structures. Maybe all of them didn't sit down at the table at once, but now we can sit back, you know, in the production room here, and you can sit back and you watch how all these mechanisms got put in place. And now that we've got all these things put in place, now we're saying that, all right, here we go. We got to prove who's lawful. We got to prove who's legal. Our court system has known that for decades, but they decided to let people fight over it because they make more money off it, because they could drain the public, drain the country from the inside out. I mean, you can't sit there and take somebody's land from them without stealing it from them. So, and that's point blank. Doesn't matter, you know, if you got, 15, 20 feet square, whatever. You know, you got 200 feet by 200 feet, you know, you got enough to raise food, collect rainwater. See, there's a lot of solutions that we have right now today that once we start maneuvering them, you know, everybody says, I want to be free. You want to be free from what? Yourself? How do you become free from yourself if you don't know what the freedom is and what you want for freedom? You know, my freedom, why should I pay a driver's license to the privilege? Why should I pay a privilege for my rights because my family blood on this soil? You know, from the east to the west coast, my family blood on this soil. Like a lot of your family blood on this soil from the east to west coast for the last couple hundred years. Immigrants, sorry to say, your family didn't bleed on our soil because we never had a war on our soil, you know, per se, except for the Civil War, and then primarily, that was the last war we had on our soil, technically. It was the Civil War, to my comprehension. And that was the North fighting the North fighting the South. You know, North wanted freedom. We didn't want to pay taxes. We're not paying taxes. And that's where I was arguing with some people with the Federalist Papers and stuff. And it's like, don't you see how the Federalist Papers are written in commas? Don't you see how this was structurally set up so you had to pay the fee? And it's like reading the words, not interpreting it, comprehending the meaning and the thought of what they had back then, the way they were thinking, how they were thinking. Once you realize how they were thinking in that way, and then you start realizing how we think today, and your combination, and then you got to balance that out, you come down the middle solution. And we realize that right now today, we've got a damn good thing going. We don't starve in this country. Homeless and housing problems and food problems, all that's man-made created, so that way we got tax write-off and jobs. Oh, we can feel sorry. We can make a donation. We can write it off. How come the churches don't grow food like they used to do? Because after the 1940s, they closed their doors. They used to grow food. They used to take in people, the homeless, and used to, house them in the churches when they had the back rooms and stuff. So, and then, because of a couple of things that happened, dramatic things have happened where they've got, people got robbed, assaulted, but those people should have never gone to court. They got their day in court, fine. They're found guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, witnesses, everything. You can't be speculation. You can't have one doubt, because you can't take that one doubt and cost somebody their life when it's not worth a doubt. But when you got factual evidence, undisputable evidence, that's what we got to start doing to these public employees. And that means people go, well, all right, well, we're going to do these grand juries. And that's one thing I want to get into grand juries a little bit. Whose grand jury? What grand jury? Why is there a grand jury? I want you people to think about one thing. We have a grand jury set up in our court systems today. How come you're not in those grand juries taking over? How come when the grand juries in Measure 11 went through, they threw away all of the grand jury books in the state of Oregon that actually put the grand jury over the judge? But after the Measure 11, and that was based on the J. Smith accidental shooting or murder in 1988, which I personally knew, after they did that Measure 11 crap and really screwed up the whole country, they took away the rights to a jury trial. So we want a jury. What jury? You get a 6-man jury. That ain't a jury. That's a hand-picked public employees jury to decide if they were going to assassinate you or not. See, a jury, grand jury, and that's what gets to me about these grand jury groups. Not one of them talk about their peers, and their peers being family members as the victim and the injured party and the perpetrator. Nobody talks about that, about how they're going to do it. Everybody goes, oh, they get a grand jury, we just go pick 12 people. No. Because when grand juries were founded in original structures in their community, this goes back to native life. People had to live there. If you got exiled, you got exiled. You came back, you were killed. There was no difference. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. There was no this liberalism of, oh, well, I don't know, we got to have this feelers and say maybe. No, when you say, and that's the one thing, we get back to exiling and start doing this, is like, turning your back on these things that people are doing to transgender, I mean, it'd be interesting if people, it really sickening when you watch these parents bring these kids to this transgender stuff and fairy tale stuff, and it's got to the point where, I know it all started with Easter and Christmas and Easter Bunny and, Halloween, and now we're going to all these other extremes today. People, wake up, because if you get to this fantasy ship any further, reality is going to be a past reality. Okay? I mean, when you're watching people doing this stuff, so in a grand jury, when they're sitting there doing that, and the grand jury is supposed to give the information and get the information. And that means the grand jury can even question the witnesses. The grand jury can even have the authority to question the perpetrator. See, that's the one thing the courts today say they don't have to do that, because you're in an Article 1 administrative British court of the Roman Catholic Bible. If you want religion, that's your court. You be judged by one man or one woman that sits above you. In Article 3 court, you're supposed to go to a grand jury that is of your peers, both sides. And so they have to judge you. And that means everybody has to live with one another. They have to live with their decision. Grand juries today, even 6 and 12-man kangaroo courts put together today, when they leave, they don't give a shit. They don't live with each other. They go back on and turn their TV and turn their computer on, their phone, and they're back in plugged into their way of thinking and their way of life. They don't care. But when a real grand jury meets, they have to care, because they have to know what happens with the family. The family gets involved. The family is, structurally, on both sides, relief, pain, suffering, justice, even paying for the consequences of what one did. We're not talking traffic tickets. We're not talking, farting in the wind. We're talking somebody who really assaults somebody, like public employees assault people today. public employees that are stealing property from people for not paying property taxes and income taxes. Now, I'm fighting on that still. I mean, come on, folks, but nobody wants to back it up. Everybody keeps going, oh, pray to God, pray to God. Where the hell is a God? What kind of morons pray to a God? God is not going to sit there and come save you when you got the sheriff shooting at you for stealing your land. There ain't no God. Hey, wake up. See, that's what gets to me about that structure. If those people out there really cared and said, well, God's there to protect you, those people need to get off their goddamn ass and form a circle around that property and protect that property from the mayor and the city council. Now that could be probably considered, oh, God's protecting it because we're here. But otherwise, this praying to God shit, you're praying to the air. No different. You're not doing anybody any benefit. You're just praying for what? Now, I mean, sometimes prayers do move. Sometimes I've heard tales of them, but maybe I don't know. You can always teach a new dog, an old dog, new tricks. That's a fact. But when it comes to this stuff, when they're attacking us and they're going after our homes, this is where these grand jury groups have got to get their ass. That's why I get involved with some of these groups, and I've been involved in hundreds of groups, literally over the last 20 years, 30 years. And everybody comes in the same structure. They start with a great idea, but at the end, everybody wants a buck. I can't do it unless I get paid for it. Oh, so in other words, you're not an American. You're a British subject. Because remember, England, nobody did anything out of the kindness of their heart, but America, we used to feed and take care of each other. I remember when I watched the corporations really take over in the 80s and 90s, really bad. Because I remember when you used to go to restaurants and you used to be able to get the ketchup and different condiments, and they were basically free. They were included in the price. But today, they just cut the price up and then added the extra. So the corporations are making more money, and they're saying, oh, we're not making as much because we get this higher income. And that's bullshit. You got to realize they jacked up the price, and they're making the income off of it, and they know it. So it's nothing new. Everybody does it. You do it for your business. I mean, I know lots of people that own businesses that tell me, hey, if inflation goes up, I raise my prices. People don't pay it. Hey, I don't get my work done. But then again, you guys are going to go pass administrative rules like when Senator Kurt, what the hell is his name? Kurt, I remember it. He's a congressman, Kurt Schrader. Anyhow, he passed a bill in the state of Oregon that says that when you go to your vet, you have to have your vet checked every time. Your animal checked, full examination, $48. He did that because he was a lousy vet. Anybody in the Capitol knew it. I mean, people in his own community didn't like what he did. He had a bad reputation. That's what it gets to me. Money buys people. They just sit there and flaunt this shit on TV, and you're just so brainwashed. You just go, just do what you need a right to vote for. To increase your taxes so that way you can kill your children? I mean, and then you want to go after the abortion issue. Excuse me? This woman's right. If you don't like it, get the hell out of her country. Woman has a right to her body. You start doing this religious crap, then I have a right to come in your home and tell you how to live. I got a right to tell you how to flush your toilet or not to flush your toilet. You're doing it to a woman. Woman has the same right to do it to you. See, this thing is democracy. Democracy says I can rape your children and kill you and do anything I want to you, and you can't do nothing because it's legal. And I love people. What is legal and lawful? And that's the one thing that, think about it. Legal versus lawful. And once you start thinking about it, you start realizing what the Constitution and the foundation or forefathers really put the structure together. And you got all these people out there who are so confused because they can't step out of the movie and watch it. They can't sit there and see how everything for the last 240 years with all this stuff, everybody's got to be in the mix, but they can't sit there and step out and watch and going, my God, look at the accomplishment what the Constitution and the treaties did for us. And we're allowing all these people to destroy our land coming in from foreign countries, dictating to us how to live. We've got the deer. We've got the elk. Well, not as many as we used to. Stop cutting trees down. Oh, we can get some food resources back. Oh, then we got climate control. Oh, grow up the trees. They create steam. You know, we got enough plastic shit out there in the world that's floating in the ocean and everything. Start building houses, building that shit, and build houses out of it. You can do insulation. You can even put them so they can never catch fire, and they can sit there and you can design them so they'll last 1,000 years. I mean, think about it. There are plastics that we've seen going back to the 1800s that is still the same. It depends on the chemical mixture. So there are solutions to the problem, but see, people don't want the solutions because they don't want to be free. A lot of these people, they think they want free, but they don't know what freedom is. So if you're free, that means you don't want to sit there and pay the privileges. That means that you know that when I grew up, that we knew that democracy, you were in a system of privileged people, privately, what it comes down to. And that's where he goes, I have a right. No. See, that's the one thing. We have a right. But only the natives have the right. And everybody goes, well, everybody's supposed to have the right across the world and, you know, the world. And it's like, no, our country was not designed for the world. The world already made their plans. The world already done that. That's why the forefathers came here from foreign countries. Worked with the natives, came up with a solution because they already saw what they did their countries in 200-300 years, even though the technology back then was way back in the mud compared to the technology of today that we got everybody spying on each other in their own homes. You know, I can put out there, you know, I can put my little, satellite and have it go track you. I mean, you know, it's sad that we're living in that point of resilience of our situation that people don't even trust their own kids anymore. What happened to trust? You know, we used to go out and play until you know, sunlight went down. You know, the kids used to go out and play. Now everybody's on their computer, stuck at home. And then you wonder why you got your health problems. And then you wonder why the air is all screwed up. Well, because there's no trees. You're cutting them down, and you're not out in the woods enjoying it. That's the one thing. I mean, you know, to me, I mean, I've still got to put this letter out to the paper. City of Toledo, City U.S., what is that? Tree USA, City of Toledo was named one year. And I'm going to be putting a letter into the paper. What a joke, City of Toledo. I mean, they cut down most of the trees in the town here. I mean, trust me, you get a wind blowing here, it's a wind blowing here. We used to have trees, and, you know, you didn't have the wind like you do in an open field or in the desert. So, and that's what they're trying to do. They're killing off the land. And everybody goes, oh, it's all these other people. No, it's you killing off the land, too. Because if you don't have that job because you can't sit there and skin a deer or, you know, gut a fish or build a home. Okay, and then we see we're all kind of in this conflict of going on right now. You know, we've got this thing that this whole thing is concaved around us. And now what's the solution of the problems here? And we do have solutions. And so work on them. It's not everything needs to be based on a piece of paper. You know, everything could be based on the structure of life itself. You know, if you want life and you want freedom, then act it, preserve it, make it happen. So anyhow, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor. Hopefully that Curtis showed up. We'll see if he showed up and a couple others because we were going to get into a couple things tonight. So let's go ahead and open up the floor.
All participants are unmuted.
So anyhow, anybody else like that? Anything? Okay. Well, I guess Curtis didn't show up. So anyhow, we're going to take a couple weeks off. I got to go in for some extensive medical testing and stuff, so I'm going to be down for a while. So, but we'll keep things posted. We'll get some stuff on the Facebook profiles and out there on the new T-shirts and stuff that is going to be coming out, because I've got to raise some money to get back and forth to the medical appointments and that stuff, because disabled people don't have anything in this country. You know, all these people with disabled rights, all they do is give the money to the damn illegals, the foreigners. They're shipping the money out of the country, and then you go, oh, these poor people that need all this shit. What about us? Look in the mirror. You're killing your family, your bloodline off. You, yourself. So either you stand up for it or you don't. So it's just where we're at. Anyhow, if nobody's got anything to say, we're going to be off a couple weeks. So we'll get some other stuff posted. Anyhow, with that, may the Great Spirit and the Mother Earth look over you and make sure the Creator bless you, because if you guys don't do it, nobody else is going to do it.
Well, thank you, Ed, and thank you all for listening. And yeah, we're going to be gone for a couple of weeks, and we'll be back. Just keep listening. If any major developments happen, like I don't know, a death in the family.
No, I'm not going yet.
I will make sure I pop in here and let you know. But other than that, if you hear no news on it, then it's good news. He's still kicking. He's still gonna give you information. And you got a couple weeks. Consider this your spring break, okay? But we do have homework for you. Listening to the old shows and learning from them. And Ed, here's a quick question from you. You keep talking about lawful warrants, right? The ones signed by a grand jury. Anything else is not lawful?
So, yeah.
Well, here's a question. What is the law on that? What law? What is the number, title, everything of that law?
Oh, I don't have it right now on my mind. Right now, hang on a minute. You have it.
Okay.
I mean, let me see if I have it right now in front of my shortness here. But the other point, too, is to go on, and if anybody's not familiar with Ex parte Milligan, 71US to -4 wall, 1866. And Ex parte Milligan, we'll get that posted up. I'll put it tonight. I'll post all the stuff that what I've talked about, even with judges too, because they don't have lawful authority in that. And I'll post it into the message tonight after we're done with the education tonight. And then also too, remember, this is the one thing that people don't get. It is your function of the government to keep it together. And the reason why our government fell out of air was simple. In the 70s and 80s, everybody went for the party time. Nobody paid attention. And if the hippies actually knew what the hell they were talking back then, and they actually knew about, instead of doing half the stuff they were doing, and if they actually read the Constitution and applied their intelligence, we would have a different country today, too. But remember, all judges, all attorneys, all district attorneys, all public servants, from the dog catcher to the shit cleaner to the administration, they're all foreign agents. 1938 Foreign Administration Act, and under 22 USC 611. So, and you'll make sure to have an oath of office too. That's the law. That's Title 5. And then, let me get back here, because see, on the grand jury's deal on that, I'll get that posted up, but Mulligan has part of that into it, and that goes back to Hinkle's case too. It's written into that case too, and I thought I had it right here in this query I was looking at, but apparently I don't. Okay, I will get that structure out. We'll get it posted to this YouTube channel here in the next couple of days. I'll get that posted to this link, and then I'll get it over to you, and then we'll get it posted up. So then that way we'll have it there, and because I want to get that one, because I have to go through the codes and ordinances back. What that was done, that was put in place, and
Harrell versus Hinkle.
Well, actually, but that other part was put in place in 1868. That was after the American Bar Association was formed in 1867. So they had a complete definition. I got to find that. I used to have that on my other computer until that one blew up a couple years back. And I wish I had, all the stuff on flash drives and stuff, but, too much for one guy trying to do it all. So, but yeah, I'll get that posted up. And so we'll get working on that one here in a little bit. So what was any other questions?
Nope, that was about it. I just wanted to make sure that we had the laws, and so in case, let's say in the next year or two, a officer ever knocks on any of our listeners' doors, and they're clearly lawful bloodline Americans, they can actually sit there and go, you got a warrant for my arrest? Is it in... I want to have the wet ink copy of it.
Too, what was the form? When you do a federal complaint form, this is what I'm getting ready to do, and I want to make sure that you folks clarify and comprehend this fact. And this is the one thing that everybody keeps going, Ed, why do you always say do everything in red ink? It's called blood. You're making your blood signature. And so... that's a Social Security, and also too on Social Security waiver form. That's 4029, where you get it all. You get today. You can waive all your Social Security structure. You don't have to pay into the system because they have altered it since the terrorist Clinton was in office. Bill Clinton altered it. So that is the one thing that what people got to realize. And then also too, then I've got the tax form. They just did some new tax forms I'm going over for the state of Oregon because there's supposed to be tax exemptions on your property for you not to pay so long as you're lawful. I got that information. I'm working on that right now. And I'm looking for this other page because on federal complaint form, and I just had it. What did I do with it? So I just dug it up the other day because I was getting ready to fill this out and start sending it in. In your federal complaint form, it even states that you have to put it in red ink. And if it's not in red ink on the federal complaint, if it's not in red ink, they will not accept it. And that's on their exact form. And I'll have to get that. I got to find it. Apparently, it's not where I thought I had it.
Well, effectively, I was just wanting to help our listeners and us in basically they can quote to the policy officers, hey, if you're not if you've only got an electronic warrant, that is an unlawful warrant. If it's not signed by a grand jury, it's an unlawful warrant. If you're still going to take me in, that is kidnapping. And let them know ahead of time. Right, kidnapping and held for ransom. That is letting them know ahead of time so that they can't say, oh, we didn't know, because you informed them ahead of time. And even have your own paperwork there, your own instrument, to basically say, hey, read this, give me the information, and then we may talk about this kind of thing. If you're not willing to fill out that form, you're not willing to give me the actual warrant, the wet ink warrant, the one that is actually signed by a grand jury, then there's no reason you're here. And if you're still going to push it, then you are kidnapping me, and there will be consequences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but see, folks got to realize they're the ones that have to do it, because your public employees cannot write a warrant. Only you can. A warrant has to be written by the injured party for a jury to do anything with it. And they're going to tell you, oh, no, that's not true, but you read the law. It actually states it. And I'll get that posted up, too. I got several things I got to post tonight on the tracker when we're off tonight.
And here's a question for you. An injured party, that is a living man or woman, correct?
Correct. Only a living man or woman. A corporation, and if you're using corporate name, like your living name, and your corporate name, then you don't have exceptions. You're exception to the rule. You have to be lawful. Citizens don't have rights.
Only natives do. All right. Well, with that information, think about it, guys. We're going to shut down, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll probably have even more information. We're going to let Ed try to get his ticker working a little bit better. And once it's working better, maybe he can get more information to us. So have a good...
Well, and that's the one thing, too. I want to add, people wondering what happened to me a couple of years back while I was going off, and I looked at how people were going, oh, he's doing this or he's doing that. And it's like, folks, I didn't realize my heart was shutting down and all this stuff was going on for 2.5 years. So, you know, until it finally went down and told me, you're done. That's it. So you got to look at life the way it happens, not the way people are projected or what somebody tells you in some newspaper. If you want the truth, go to the source.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Well, get it straight from the horse's mouth. But here's also something else, just a bit of information. If you are going through any court, this is just information. You can do with it what you will. It is not advice. It is none of that. We are not lawyers, attorneys, whatever, all that other blah, blah, blah. If you're not getting remedy through your local courts or even your state courts, you need to go to the federal courts, because the federal is above even the state and the local. They don't want you. They don't want you to go to the federal. They want you to give in on the state or local area so that they can get what they want from you and they can railroad you. When you go to federal, then all their fraud, all their deceit starts showing up, and they don't want that. They'll most likely drop the case before it ever gets to federal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just information. It is not advice. You go ahead and research it yourself. With that, we're going to close up, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. You going to say bye-bye, Ed?
Good night, folks. Talk to you then.
All right. Bye.